And I think we should wait until.
Hello there, you guys hear me okay?
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
can. Boy, is that, that race, not really good.
Okay. I will go ahead and call to order the public hearing. This is the second of two public hearings. Are there any comments, oral or written, concerning the proposed 2024-2025 school district budget? Okay, I see no one in person as a guest to submit comments, and we have not received any written. So I will adjourn the public hearing. Next, I'll call to order the special school board meeting. And we'll have a roll call. Please note that directors Fadness, Sand, and Zander are in person. In addition to myself, and directors Petersburg is joining us remotely. Can you hear us okay, Brian? Okay, great.
Oh, you're muted now.
I hear you just fine, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do I have a volunteer to read the mission and vision statements?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead, Ron. Thank you.
At Decorah Community School District, we embrace student learning and well-being as our fundamental purpose. We will, in partnership with our students, families, and community, make the world a better place. The mission of the Decorah Community School District is learning, thriving, creating our legacy. The vision of the Decorah Community School District is Decorah Community School District will be a collaborative, innovative, learning-centered organization, empowering students to embrace their personal strengths and create their future.
Thank you. First on the agenda today is the approval of the proposed 2024-2025 school budget. Are there any questions from the board or discussion that needs to be had?
I would move that we approve the proposed 2024-2025 school budget.
I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next is the approval of the Mount Mercy agreement.
And this was a new, late, thing, we've got this is like student teaching, but someone's doing a nursing, I guess clinical or assignment in Decorah, so, to make sure that we have our I's crossed, I's dotted, T's crossed. Something, I'll get there,
I suppose.
I's crossed, but, yeah, this is just a procedural thing to make sure that we can host a nursing student.
I'm scrolling through the agreement, nothing and previewing this ahead of time, nothing stands out to me. Is does anyone else have questions or anything you want to touch on or discuss?
Looks very thorough.
Yeah,
Yes.
as
Yeah.
these go, I mean, they're usually not 5 or 6 pages.
Right. Because this is a nursing.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
student,
it's
I
not a
think
student
it's more
teaching
thorough.
one, those
Yeah.
are usually 2 pages.
Mhm.
Is this something that they provided to us or that we provided to them, the agreement? What's that, Tim?
They, Mount Mercy provided it to us, this is what they send with all their
Okay.
nursing students.
That's what I was guessing. Okay. Okay.
And maybe as a reminder, I think in the past, the superintendent would just sign off on these, and
Mhm.
my experience is, since this is an agreement or contract, the board needs to be aware of it, and so you guys I'll ask you to approve it, and then
Yeah.
I can still
appreciate
sign
that.
it. So, but as a reminder, maybe if you're thinking, why, I don't remember seeing these in the past, like,
That's exactly what I was thinking, but
Yeah.
I appreciate the board being able to know what's being signed.
I move that we approve the Mountain Mercy agreement as written.
second.
Okay, I hear a motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
I,
Bye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have one personnel item to approve as a carryover from our last meeting, and this had to do with a teacher who had left the school district and then is coming back in a different role.
Coming back as a teaching role, and, it's pretty laid out in the master contract that the placement there was just a little confusion over, when you come into the district and you haven't been here before, our language says we honor up to 16 years, but right below that, it says, if you've been here and you left and you come back, we honor all those years.
Hmm.
So this person's gonna be, I think, at step 19, and we just weren't sure that was the right placement.
Okay.
And then ironically, I think that, without knowing what salaries will be, this will probably be one of those veteran minimum salaries anyway.
oh,
Cause we're kind of looking at, that's gonna be a lot of fun and work to do, but there's just a lot of people that get covered up now with 12 years of experience. It's like, well, they get to make, or the state, the great thing is they make $60,000, so we're gonna have to figure out how our salary schedule works.
mhm.
So, but it's a fun challenge to have, and, we've had, kind of a conversation just with the association of how that will look. Anyway, I'm off the topic. Yes, this person will be placed at, is it 19, Darlene? Is that right?
I think it might be 19 and a half.
19.5 it says.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just a standard.
I move that we approve the personnel item for Megan Gates.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have the approval of the graduating class of 2024 list.
And the board always has to approve graduating lists. One of the comments, I think every year at every district I've been at, usually, someone will look.
To the completion of graduation requirements.
Someone will look at the high school principal and say, is everybody on this list gonna make it? And then they say, well, right now it looks good, but as Ron pointed out, the board's tasked with, you've got to approve the graduate list. They still have to meet requirements. The seniors can't just go, hey, I got approved, I'm done doing work, I'm out of here.
Right.
They still have to meet their requirements, but it's funny because invariably, everybody gets that question, but yeah, there's another procedural thing. I wanted to add it to this list just so I didn't, somehow overlook it in May, and we got it taken care of.
Yeah, and at the time that this list was compiled and everyone was planning on graduating, it lists 134 graduates.
Yeah,
So,
Well, I move to approve the list of graduates, subject to completion of all graduation requirements.
I will second that.
there's a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have we're asked to approve the purchase of a 12-passenger van.
And I asked Chris
Yeah,
to come
okay.
today, but this wasn't really on our, the idea is always to get a 12-passenger van. As a reminder, the state law has changed twice. You used to be able to have them, and then the state said you couldn't have them. I think in that window, maybe Decorah bought one.
Yep.
And then had to turn around and resell it.
Yep.
And so I got told, no, Tim, you can't have 12-passenger vans. And then Tim said, no, they changed it back. And the only reason is that it has to be used. And don't ask me why it has to be used, but it has to be used. So you can find a used 12-passenger van, you can use it to transport. You can't do a daily bus route, but you could do activities. And as my understanding, coaches that drive it maybe just have to go get their license upgraded up to a chauffeur's, which is like maybe a fee adjustment, but do they even have to take a test to go to chauffeurs?
You do, we have to take get a permit, then you have to do a driving test.
It-
So it's going to be changing soon. From what I understand is the entry level driving training, CDL training. That's gonna get pushed into that eventually.
Okay,
So,
I think it's minimal. And so the idea with the 12-passenger van is all of a sudden, we've got another, even a little bit more space to get stuff. And I had written up an example, but I had to modify it this morning because it wasn't quite accurate. But you might be sending 4 buses with the middle school track next week, but you could get them in 3 buses and a bunch of vans.
yeah, so that was just one example. So there's multiple occasions. So we have, our transportation request forms right now, but we don't have any viable data because Tim and I were gonna look at that. So right now we modify our request because people know we don't have a van that size. This is something that'd be incredibly utilized. It seems a little odd that, you go from a 10 to a 12, just that extra 2 people makes a huge difference. I mean, it would save us a lot of money in fuel costs just alone, instead of sometimes you send a bus because we can't fit them in a van. There's a lot of situations that we could really utilize it in.
We don't have to talk Aaron into it because I think he already understands the.
Yeah, I do. My question revolves back a couple meetings prior. We talked about the concept of this, and then we kind of approved going forward with looking at a 10. Does this replace the 10 that we were talking about, or are we now talking about a 12?
We're adding a 12 to the 10 we have previously approved. And then price wise, I should add on the price, because it's used, I've seen these with maybe fewer miles, more in the 60 to 70 range. So this one has a few more miles, 55, but the price was,
It's considerably lower than what we would look at regardless. And this is, we're not looking for a fully loaded option either, with all the bells and whistles. This one just happens to have all of that included into it, which is not, I'm not trying to say it as a selling point, but we have been looking for a base model. And this is as far as this is out of La Crosse, Delport. So it reaches out pretty far. And I've had a lot of them call me already, and the price wasn't compatible. This is the first one that came back that's well under price for what we're looking at.
Right.
and what Dahl was willing to hold it to us for this meeting, and obviously this is over my threshold of just superintendent approval, so we put it on the agenda. So it's convenient that we had this meeting. Did they talk about a warranty or how long?
I did talk to them about it. It's gonna be bumper to bumper for the first minimum 90 days, probably gonna be 60 days. I can renegotiate that with them today. They just wanted to know for sure if we had legitimate interest in it, and that's so I can get a hold of them and I can work out the fine details with that later. I'm pretty meticulous when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I'll work that out with them, but the van is technically, if we didn't want it, already sold. So that was my kind of push for this. I don't wanna let this slip through our fingers, because it could take us 6 months to a year to find something.
So if we approve the purchase of this 12-passenger van, we would consider our fleet workable, complete for now, or are there any other
We have a
gaps?
10 person on order yet. So
Yeah.
the last time I talked to the board, it did get pushed back, parts availability. It's technically on the assembly line, but that would be the last piece of our puzzle right there.
Right, so then we would be sustainable for now.
Yeah.
We don't have any other gaps once we get that.
No, I think we should be good.
And we would probably, well, I'm sorry, Carol, we would probably being able to look at, after a year, like, did we change what we set out to stuff? It's probably the data that we're gonna be able to collect.
Yeah,
Like how many buses did we send? You know, do we reduce our buses versus van just because we could get
this will
everybody?
give us a pretty good scope on that kind of data too, you know, having this in the rotation. I mean, right now, our vans run constant, all our 10-person vans, it's a pecking order when it comes to that right now. This will kind of loosen that burden up between Adam, Riley and I. But having that 12-person in there, we can really see how much we're gonna utilize it too.
And you said there's a good price on this. Has it been evaluated mechanically by?
Yeah, so their technicians went through it and I actually called the technician. He said, yeah, there's one cosmetic fault on it. It's missing a hubcap, but they're already gonna replace that. So before we go any further, I'm gonna go over there. I'm gonna drive it. I'm gonna check it out, give it the full rundown. I'll take my computer with me, pull past history faults just to see. Again, I'm really meticulous when it comes to vehicles. So I'll make sure we're not buying a lemon. And I'll make sure we get at least a minimum of 6 months, bumper to bumper, and then the Ford warranty will still cover 100,000 5 years. So we'll still be under warranty for a considerable amount of time.
Great.
What color is it?
Wait, in the picture, it looks more of a silver, but
Yeah,
As long as it's not like orange or something.
That's a good question. Very.
And this is kind of an aside, but you said that anyone who drives it has to have a chauffeur's license?
when you're hauling students to or from school, that's a for sure requirement. But sporting, we just need a passenger endorsement.
Okay, and is there a cost to that to get those endorsements?
I'd have to check with I don't know what the cost is exactly.
If there is, does
It's
the
like-
district cover that if a coach needs to get this?
we pay
Yeah.
reversing drivers for stuff. I would assume we would do coaches, yeah.
I guess we don't have a written policy on that, do we?
Oh, I know we said we pay for drivers endorsements. I don't think we had something for coaches, so. I can look at that. Unless somebody else knows. It is,
So Chris, I
Chauffeur's
definitely
license.
think
Chauffeur's
it's
license. Everybody with 2 passengers or fewer, and it's an $8 endorsement.
I can probably cover that.
Okay, Brian,
Brian?
you heard that, but the floor is yours.
I just said, I think this definitely makes sense, but, going forward, Chris, this will be an extra vehicle, and the fact is 10-passenger van that fills the voids we want. So I think it makes sense. Is there any other vehicles that out there that instead of increasing our fleet that we won't need because to replace something else in the future?
We pretty much cleared out, our Uplander is the last vehicle that was not really used, and that's already traded in on the 10-person van. We do have a van down at the old CAO that we use for in-town running. I mean, that's a potential we could get rid of, but then they would lose access to having that vehicle. Kids that are truant, I know Justin Albers uses that a lot. A lot of the in-town stuff, it does still get utilized quite a bit. We would just be creating a smaller void to fill a bigger one at that point.
And I'm looking at this, we're not necessarily thinking that the 12-passenger van is replacing necessarily a vehicle. I think what it's gonna probably do is mean that we use our buses less. So if you're doing a trip and you're 3 buses and just a little over, it's easier to get them in a van or something like that, or a van supplements 1 bus or something.
I'm looking at more of a fuel cost too, more than anything. I mean, if you look at our wear and tear per bus, I think we average $4 plus a mile. If you compare that to, $4.50, you compare that to a van, it's considerably less. And it's a lot easier to replace the van than it is a bus too. I mean, I know we're racking up miles on these vans, but it's cheaper to replace.
Better a van than a bus.
Makes sense. How about in the future? And I know that, the vehicles are becoming more available in different things and probably not the vans as much as cars are, but in the future, it would make sense to try to order a new van in the future versus just try to find one since they're so hard to find.
Tools we can't buy new. I even talked to the state inspector on that. Nobody can give me a real answer of why that's a rule or law.
Yeah, Brian, just to reiterate, you can't buy a new 12-passenger vehicle and use it in a school.
Oh, I missed that.
And yeah, we don't know why,
Okay.
but we know it's a rule. And I even had the state person said, and don't have the superintendent buy the van and turn around and sell it to the school district.
Really?
Because we'll know if you do that. And so that's why these 12-passenger used vans they come up for sale and everybody wants them because you can't find them and they're the biggest thing that you can drive,
Mhm.
with a minimal license upgrade. So, yeah.
That's right.
These are kind of the white whale of school vehicles.
Got it. Yep, that's right. I remember that now. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Well, I'll make a motion that purchase this new 12 passenger van that has been presented to us.
Not new, used.
Brian, can you amend your motion to change to say used van instead of new van?
Didn't we just go through that? Where the hell have I was, yeah, I surely will. Thank you very much. New to us is what I meant.
Yeah, perfect.
A new to us
I
12
second.
passenger van.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion by Brian and a second by Aaron. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Get a new van. Okay, we're at the end of our agenda. So I will